we'll continue with the lecture. As I said, I'm not able to actually see the chat for some reason. I don't know why. If you have any questions that I cannot see it, since I cannot see here, just let me know through your through voice, please. So let's continue with the rest of the string operations. So for string operations, we'll actually have probably a need for manipulating characters, since string actually is an array of characters treated in a special way. Then we should probably look at a way of actually how do we at least do manipulate characters. Can we actually read characters in from standard IO or from a file, and can we actually do, let's say, what can we do with this one? So the character type is there is a library for character type, which is included in the in this ctype.h header file. And the important things that we'll probably need to know is, one of them is get character and get C. Get character is a function that actually will read the character from the terminal and returns the next character from the standard input or file if you use the get C. Return value is an integer as represented as a character. Return is going to be end of file if getchar is actually has reached the end of the file. The value of the end of file is -1, which is not of any type character and so forth. So you see this one. So the return of this guy is going to be integer, signed integer, not an unsigned integer. So you have to treat it properly. So you can use similar things for using scanf, of course. And you can, if you are using actually a file, you can use getC instead of getchar. And putchar and putc is the reverse of this thing. So putchar actually puts a character on the terminal, the output standard output, and putc a character to a file will actually put a character to a file, right? Of course, the file is supposed to be a text file, right? So it shouldn't be a binary file. So I can actually do a scanline function using a getchar. What I do is I actually do it this way here. I get a character from the input, and then I actually see if this is a new line or end of file, right? And I will go till I actually reach the either till the end of the destination array length. So this is a simple code actually that can do this one. So there are other character analysis functions that we have, like isAlpha is actually checking if the character is an alphabetical character. So it's a part of an alphabet, which is in this case in English alphabet. And including the capital letters as well. IsDigit is actually checking if the character is a digit, meaning 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. IsLower, and the corresponding part is actually IsUpper, checks if the character is a lower cap character or an upper, let's say, uppercase character. There is another one, is punctuation, is punct. It checks if it's a punctuation. And there is also is space function that actually checks if the given character is a space character. These space characters are white spaces, such as a new line, a space, or a tab. And you have two upper or two lower function. If you give it text, or if you give a string, if you use two lower, it will actually take the string as take the character and lower it, making it a lowercase one, or otherwise uppercase one. All right. And you can also do a string to number conversion or vice versa. So if you have within a string, if you have a string like, let's say, something like, let's say 1, 2, 3, right? You can use so if you want to read let's say a string or a character from a character from outside, you can use it this way, right? You can use scanf. And if it is an integer, you can use an integer this way. All right. So, and you can use a double number and as well as a string. So these are easy. We know these things. So if you have a value like this, the A, the placeholder for this one for let's say for printf is going to be one of these. These are C is a character, percentage sign C, % sign C says that I'm going to actually be printing a character. There are a few different cases of this one. C is going to just put the character there without anything. If you have a number between the % sign and actually the C, then it will actually create that many space. So in this case, this is 3. So it will create 3 spaces and then put the character at the end of that space as the last entry. So this is kind of used for, let's say, right aligning something, that if you want to right align something, you can use this one. And this minus C is actually -3 is the other way around. Still, you do actually 3 character long space. And then you actually do this, put your input in the beginning. So the beginning of it. So I think we have seen these type of things for this guy. We haven't talked about this -5D. -5D is a simple one. So if you have 5, would actually say, okay, I need a 5-digit place for my number. So this is my number. This is how many digits I'm going to need, 5 digits. If I didn't have the minus, then I would actually put my number starting from left to right, right to left, right aligned, right? And minus will actually do it the other way around. It will be left aligned. All right. So, and now another possibility, another function in this string or standard IO, standard lib, is actually this sscanf and sprintf. So you can indeed, what you can do is, so printf, if you recall, was doing a simpler version of fprintf. Fprintf was actually printing to a file. Printf is printing to the standard output. And scanf and fscanf is doing the other way around. Now, fscanf, scanf and sprintf is gonna do this to the target reading or writing. So when I try to write to a place using sprintf, or when I actually read something from a place using scanf, the target or the source is gonna be a string. So for example, I may have a string like, let's say, something like this, for example, a string. So the first character, parameter to this function is gonna be string. And what it will do is actually, it will put whatever you have. This is regular, as if this is a printf. This part is just write a printf. But the result is not going to print it to the standard output, but to a string array, which I actually, or string, which I actually allocated here. The scanf, scanf on the other hand, is going to actually have the same type of a thing, a formatting statement. So the source of the string, the source string, which the reading is going to happen from, and then your formatting statement and your arguments. So in this case, what will happen is that this is saying that given string that I have, this is my string, I will have actually, I will read a integer number, I will read a floating point number, long floating point number, and I will read a text or a string, and I will return them in these 3 arguments, right? So here I need a string. In sprintf, I would have actually had a file input file pointer here. So this way, what you can do is, for example, you can read an entire line from your file or from your input device, and then read it to a string, and then process the string using scanf for different things. This is something that you will probably use in your next upcoming homework, right? So this is important. Right. So let me see. Okay, let's do this one. This simple. There is a case study in the. This is from the book. In the last part of the lecture slides, you can read them. This is not a big deal. We have seen the basics of this already. Let's look at actually an example where we want to actually do, let's say, a conversion from a date format and date conversion. So the idea here is that how do we represent dates, right? Perhaps one way of doing this is, let's say I have this is the US way of actually representing a date, right? So you have, or maybe European, I don't know. So you have, actually this is the European way. So you have the day of the month, you have the month, and then you have the year, right? So 12th June 1968, or you can have the number as also indicating the number instead of the name of the month. You can do actually day, month, and year. So my question is going to be, I give you a string representation of date to 3 integer representation and vice versa. So I want to write a function that given a text like this, 12 June 1968, that will actually give me 12, 6, and 1968 as 3 numbers, or vice versa. If I give you this one, I want you to actually give me this one. The other one is maybe this format, or the other format is actually just 12, 6, and 1968. So let's actually write something like this. Let's write the first one, this one here. If you give me a date in this form, can you actually convert it to this form? Right. So the first function that I have is this guy. So what this does is actually it takes a date string. So date string could be, as I said, for example, 12 June, 12 space June space 1968. It will actually, no, this is, okay, this is the other way around. It will take the month, the day, and the year, okay, and then it will actually put this into date string, and it will also do string to date nums. So given this date, and it will actually give you the month, the day, and the year as the numbers. And I have another thing here. There is this parameter here. This parameter is for actually having a kind of a map where I have 12 entries and the names of the months. I want to have it there. So let me see. This is that that array. This is the array of strings. Each of them there are 12 of them, right? And I'll have these entries here, right? 12 entries. And then if you want to actually do let's say conversion from let's say let's look at the conversion from num to string date. So this is my reference. Those 0th month is let's say January and so forth. And you give me this date string, and I want sorry, you give me these 3 numbers, and I want to actually go and actually create this string. So how do I do this? Very simple, right? So day goes directly to here. So if I did this with a printf, this is what I'm going to do. So forget about this one for the time being. I'm going to do a printf. So this is just doing the day first. This is messy. So let's do this again. So if I do this with just a printf, I will have a printf, and the formatting string is D, and then maybe a space and D, S, this is the month, and then D again. So for the first 2 is easy. First, this one and this one is easy. This is 1 day, and I don't know the second one. Let's leave it for the timing there. And the third one is year. So what is this guy gonna be? This is the corresponding number for my month, right? So if I am actually taking my month to be from 1 to 12, I need an index to this array here, this array here. I need an index to this array to get the right month. But this array starts from 0 to 11, right? So but my month naming or numbering starts from 1 to 12. Therefore, what I need to do is I need to take this month names and index it by month -1. This will give me month -1 is going to give me the name corresponding to the input month. Now, this is my printf. Sprintf is just the same as this one, except I put a string, destination string here, and store the results in the string instead of storing the results in somewhere else. So let's write a simple code to actually show this one. Go back to here. So the simple thing is gonna be, let's say that I have void, okay, test 1. So let's do this one as test 1. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to first of all, like writing and my test 1 was supposed to be, I have a month, integer month, or let's say integer year, a month, and a day, right? And assume that the year is 2020, and month is 4th month of the year. This is and today is the 8th, right? This one. If I want to do a printf, I can simply do it this way. I want to print the first one as a number. The second one is for the time being, let's put this as a number as well, and third one is a number. Then in this case, I would actually put a day here, month here, and year here. And now this will print. I don't want to print it. I want to actually store it I want to store it in a string. So I will define a string, date, let's call this. And I want to make this long enough so that it can hold all the dates for me. And if I want to do it this format, I know that there are 4 digits in the year, at most 2 digits in the day, and 2 digits in the at most 2 digits in the month in this format, and 2 spaces in between. So I need at least 10 characters. So make it reasonable. Let's make it 20 characters long. Okay. Then sprintf is going to actually do it this way. Sprintf is going to say, I'm going to have this date string here, and this will be actually printing the thing in the S. Let's actually, the result is this way. The result is in a string, and this is my string, and I can print now date string here this way. You can see that what I did is I used an sprintf to actually print these things within this format into this date string, and then put that date string out into the out to the whatever. All right. What did I do? Okay, I think have the right one here, I guess. Right. No. What does it say? Result is, all right, is this saying? Sprintf char restrict, but argument is of type character. Oh yeah, sorry. No one is actually, of course, warning me. I have this one, right? So you can see that now the result is 8, 20, and this. All right, this is fine, but I didn't want to have this number for the month. I want to have the name of the month. And for that one, we said, okay, let's define another character array, which is what we have here. You can see, all right? So I have this guy, names. Let's call this names. And I have 12 of those. And I say January for the time being. And February. March. April. May. June. July. September. October. And November. And December. So there are 9 of them. Now what I want to do is I want to actually take these names and access the month with it, but the month is gonna be starting from 1, but my naming is starting from 0. So therefore I have to put a -1 here. This way, what I will do is if I actually compile this guy, then I will have, oops, what did I do? Of course, I have to change this part here. This is not a number anymore. This is a string. Now I put the string here, and you can see that it's 8 April 2020. Or I may want to do it this way. I want to say this is the American style, perhaps April 8 and 2020. So I will take this one, the month first and the rest the second. So if I do this one, now I have April 8, 2020. So I have this APR instead of April. If you want to put a full name, you can put the full name here. You can put a January and April as well. All right. So this way. But if you want to have only the first 3 characters of the thing, then perhaps you can do something for that as well. So this is the part where we are actually converting from these numbers, 3 numbers, to the date. Okay. Let's do this other way around. Now take the date, this date, so this one here, April 8, 2020, and convert it to the number that I want to actually have. So let's do the reverse one. So components, let's call this date components. String to dates. So let's call this one. The first one is date, right? The second one is going to be my components. So the day, the month, the year, right? I'm going to be returning them. Of course, this function may have my this guy or may not have it. So if I am assuming that this guy has it, then I don't need to actually put it there. But if it doesn't have it, then I have to actually send it as another variable or as another argument to this function. Okay. So in principle, what this function is going to do is it's going to actually do a scanf from what? From the date. Now I'm actually doing a scanf from the date. This is the thing. The first one is going to be a string. I'm reading a string, right? And then what? And a number. A number. And after a comma, I have another number. Another number here. So this is gonna then return my day and my month and my year. So let's print this out if this is right, doing it right. So the result of this guy is gonna be, the result is, of course, this is the first one, this is the second one, this is the third one. And I wanna have day, month, and year. Let's see if it is actually able to find this correct. And you can see that, oh, there is a segmentation fault. What did I do? Let's see. I messed up something, perhaps. So I know that this is related to this guy, not the other guy. So let's look at this one here. So the problem is probably not with this one either. This is fine. Oh, what did I do? One is broadcasting something. All right. So the result, printf, the result, day, yes, month, or sorry, this is D. This has to be D. You can see that actually this is not working out because this, when I put it here this way and send a month, it will actually try to take that as a potential address, and it will try to do something. This core dump is actually happened because of that. I want to actually put this just a number there. You can see that it's 8020, it didn't change. Perhaps I should have changed it here so that I can check it if this is the case. Let's make them all 0 here so that I'll be able to see that I am able to recover it from here. When I do this one, you can see that the first number, so this guy, the problem with this one is this is a string, but this guy is not string anymore. What is this one? Day is just a number, just a integer. So this is not right. So I need to actually read a string here for not the, if this is the case, then I need to have this one. Actually, this is the month. Month needs to be another, perhaps, let's say M is a 20 long character. And I want to have S, April, M, and then day, and then year. All right. Now, in this case, if I actually do this guy here and print this one here, then I will have the right thing. See that now I am able to read the April because April is, so this is April 8, 220, right? So the first one is a string. I need to read a string here. And this is a string, which is defined here. And the second one is an integer. And I have this comma because I want to have this comma. If I don't have it, my output, my input has one. And I'm not going to be able to read it otherwise. I have to actually take it out of the way. And then afterwards, I will be able to read year. All right. Good. Any questions? Any questions regarding this? So this type of conversions, you have to be careful yourself that if I, for example, as I said, if I want to convert this to a number for this guy, to convert to a number, what am I going to do? I'm going to actually take this M and I'm going to search in this guy and find the corresponding one. So I'm going to say, okay, read this one. So I read April, and I'm going to go through this and say, okay, April is the 0th, 1, 2nd, and 3rd entry of this guy. And then I'm going to actually go back and map that and get that index and increment it by 1 to get the month of the numeric month of the year. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. So let's do that one properly. So let's actually do this function. So what I want to do is I want to get this function string to date. It's going to take a so this is going to take a date of the form April, let's say 8, 2020, right? And return 3 numbers for day, month, and year. So this is what I want to do with this function. So here you give me a date string, and I want to get you back the 3 numbers like this, right? So this is what we want to do. So let's take this function and let's create it here. So this is void for the time being. I'm not returning anything. I'm not assuming anything. And this is character array date. And this is an integer, a return value, an integer month, and an integer year, right? Now, this is what it is going to happen here. I'm going to come back to this one in a few minutes. Okay, so this is fine for the time being. Let's get rid of this guy and just print the results here. All right. A, month, and year. And this is, I'm printing the result as 3 numbers given. Okay, we can say this guy is this one. Date is my string, and day and month and year is my numbers. So this is what I'm trying to find. Okay, let's look at the function. And the function is assuming that, first of all, the same thing, right? The function is going to assume that this is day and this is year. This is fine. So April 8, 2020. Day is going to be this guy here. The year is going to be this guy here. This is fine. But this one is a string, and I need to actually read something here, like this one. So I need to read, first of all, a string character of 20. Now, but I haven't decided what to do with about this day or month. I don't know what the month is. So how am I gonna actually, this is no here. How am I gonna convert this guy to month? This is a string, month is a number, right? So I need to do the conversion. So one thing that you can do is perhaps you can say, okay, you know, hey, what do I have? January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. Okay, let's do this in a bad way. Okay, so we say if month is string compare. I'm taking month and comparing it to January. If this is the case, if this is 0, then what do I do? If this is 0, that means that month is 1. All right, this is checking the first one. If my what I read, if the text has or the string had January in it, then I will actually see check if it is January. All right, and then month is going to be 1. So I need to actually do this one for everything. Then I will say, okay, this is for February. February, then month is going to be 2, right? And so forth. And then perhaps I'm going to do this for March. Then I will say this is 3 and so forth. I will need to do this how many times? 12 times. This is ridiculous. This is not a good programming thing because and there are going to be other things like, okay, you say January and February, but here you use only Feb instead of February. So you use the kind of an abbreviation, all right? So if you are using an abbreviation, perhaps you can say, maybe I should have done a strncamp comparison and compare the first 3 characters. So strncmp compares the first 3 characters. If I put 3 as a parameter there, it will compare the first 3 characters. Okay, this is a little bit better. At least now I know that I have January, Jan, Feb, March, APR, May, June, July, September, October, November. So nothing is going to confuse. But still, I have this 12th number of times that I'm actually doing this line. So instead, what I should do is I should actually take this guy here, perhaps. This one, right? And then what I need to do is I define a loop. I create a loop here. And I say, okay, for each of these entries from 0 to I less than 12. And I say, okay, here, string compare this with what? The names. I. And do this for the third 3 entry only. If this is the case, if string compare 3 is 0, then month is what? Someone tells me, what is the month? What is going to be the month? Someone tell me what's going to be the month. Use your microphones, please. I, perhaps. Is this correct? Someone, I'm waiting. Some brave soul.
+1.
+1, right? So I would be actually 0 indexed, but I don't have month. January is not 0th month, it's first month. Therefore, I want to have actually 1 here. All right. Now, perhaps you can say now, hey, don't do this forever. Once you actually take this one, just break out of this thing. Now, I have a proper thing. Okay. I have so I have less number of lines to write the code. And now, but I still have a problem. My problem is that this guy, this line number 6 and line 21 has been replicated twice. So what do? I have an issue here. One possibility is I don't have this one here. And I say, okay, perhaps I have now I have this guy. I sent the parameter, the names as a parameter to this guy. So here I sent my parameters to this guy. Therefore, I can keep only one variable holding all my month names, and I move it around from one function to another function so that I don't need to recreate, because if I want to do a change, for example, later that, okay, I don't like these long names, I want to keep the shorter names like this, then I'm done. Then this is the only thing that I need to do. All right. So this way you can actually pass these names to this one. Can I use, for example, something else like, I don't know, let's say constants, constant numbers, constant strings, or constant definitions? The answer is probably no, because a constant definition here can be made, but it's not going to be a indexable array like this one, like I actually do here. So it will be not a good thing to do. All right. So this way you can see that now I have a very simple code where I actually take my date string, decompose its components using sscanf, and then I'm doing a string comparison to actually find the corresponding entry in my list of names, month names, and then I am returning the month index with this one. Now I am guaranteeing, of course, here that this is in one of these, out of these 12 entries in names, this if loop, if statement is gonna succeed at least once. Otherwise, month is not gonna be actually set up. So this is another thing that you might want to check here. Perhaps you say, okay, initially you say month is 0, -1, for example. And then say, okay, here, if month is less than 1, then there is a problem, right? Perhaps it's a problem. What else can be a problem? Perhaps reading day. Okay, I made a mistake here. This is gonna be this way, of course, right? This one. Or you can also say, okay, if let's say day is less than 0, less than 1, and day is perhaps greater than, I don't know, 31, right? So you have 31 days at most in a month, no more than that one. So this could be another check that you want to do. Or perhaps you can check the first month. You say, okay, you know each month how many, unless it's a leap year, how many days in a year, days in a month. So you can check these individually and so forth. So you can actually do whatever, however many complicated checks that you want to do to actually include in this function. All right. So you can see that this sscanf and sprintf is actually a quite useful thing, and it is no different than my regular printf, except that my output is going to be a string for printf, and my input is going to be a string for sscanf, right? So very, very simple. So this is a powerful tool that you can use to actually, one thing could be, for example, if I give you a file with, let's say, unstructured entries in each line, you can take the line, you can read the line and process the line one at a time for different things. You can actually use sscanf in that manner. All right. Any questions? Are there any questions? All right. So if we don't have any questions, I think we are almost done with strings. So just to wrap it up a little bit, strings are arrays of characters, but with some special treatment that you would not do on a regular character array, where you assume that within the bounds of the array, you have at least one null character indicating from the beginning, from starting from the 0th entry of that array, where that array is ending. And that ending between the 0th and the ending, anything in between them, including the beginning but not the end, will actually hold a text, hold a string. A string is usually of readable characters, right? Array of readable characters that is used for, let's say, written communication and so forth, right? So let's do okay. And then we said, with this assumption, now I can easily take any array, character array, and as long as I have a null character somewhere in that array, I can interpret that as a string. And this would be useful for inputting and outputting stuff from files and let's say terminals and monitors. And We could also, we said these individual things in this array is characters. There are several things that we can do with characters. We have looked at a little bit the ctype.h library and whatever is in it. And then we also discussed a little bit regarding the multidimensionality of or multidimensional arrays. And when we talk about a string array of strings, right? So array of words and array of, let's say, as a word dictionary, for example, you could actually have these type of things, right? So you can use array of strings to keep multiple strings in place. And our current understanding of this is array of string is for sure that it is defined similarly similarly or the same as our multidimensional arrays. So the first dimension, if you have a two-dimensional array, the first dimension has always a fixed number of entries that is defined. That means that you can actually, if you have a character array or a string array of strings, then your string size for each of these strings in this array will be actually fixed to a maximum. So if you put, let's say, 10 here, like character names something, I don't know, it doesn't matter. This one is going to be fixed. All right. Later on, we are going to say that this is probably not a good idea. And we are going to see that there are other ways of actually going around this instead of actually doing as what we call this type of a definition. There is dynamic allocation that we could use. But for the time being, this is the only way to actually declare an array of strings. All right. If there are no more questions, we have 3 minutes left. I think we can stop here. Let me see if there is any more questions here. As usual, I'm gonna put all these code segments that we wrote here on our website on Moodle. And I have already placed the code from yesterday. Today's code will be placed there. And the YouTube link is the YouTube links that we have for the class is already there. So you know this lecture notes have, for example, the things that we did yesterday here, some of them anyway. And this link here actually points to 2 parts of the lesson that we had yesterday as a video on YouTube. So you can, if you want to, re-watch them and see what happened in that class. By the way, there was a question yesterday regarding the exams. And even though we don't know what's going to happen for the finals, it seems that the midterms are actually not going to happen. So we are going to, most probably, we are going to replace the midterm with a project, a take-home project. So we are still working on the details of how we are going to do that. But the midterm, there will be no midterm for this semester on this class, and we'll be compensating that with a project. And I will most probably arrange the or rearrange the or redefine the weights of the homeworks and midterms and so forth to reflect this change, right? So the midterm is no longer going to be 30 or 35% of your final. It will not contribute 30% to your final grade. Maybe it will be much lesser than that one. So final is not known yet, but the midterm is going to be like that. Now, another thing is that as we tried last week, on Fridays, we are going to have 4 different sessions of problem solving by our TAs. I think you did it last week. The feedback that I got from the TAs were reasonable. So try to attend those, and each TA will probably do things a little bit differently, and some of them might go a little bit deeper into the basics, and some would be probably a little bit more, let's say, adventurous in terms of looking for more difficult stuff. So follow them, and you don't need to attend all of it. You are not required to attend all of it, but it will benefit to see actually all of them, but at least try to attend at least one of them, and maybe multiple as well. They are gonna keep the videos recorded, I think, and you can also later on refer to their videos as well. But keep that in mind that the problem solving sessions on Fridays will continue, and you are encouraged to attend at least maybe one or two or maybe all of them. All right. So if there are no other questions, thank you for your interest today. We had some problems with this chats, but I'm gonna figure that out and